Hello. Guess what? This is our last guided practice. Today we're going to cover only these 6 exercises. Now we're doing the laws of exponents, the applied problems, okay, with the zero exponent and the negative exponent. Now these are longer polynomials compared to the first exercises that you did, all right? So, remember the law with zero exponent, what happens? When you have a zero exponent, everything is a 1. And with negative exponent, if the negative exponent, let's say if it's on the top, what happens? You send the variable with the exponent to the, I'm going to use -2. If the exponent is negative, what happens? You send the whole variable to the bottom. And that way the exponent becomes positive. And the other way around. If you have 1 over x -3, if it's in the bottom and you want to simplify, you don't want the negative exponent, what do? You send it to the top. So now you have x to the power of 3. All right. So we're going to use those laws to simplify these expressions. All right. So look at this one right here. You have x cubic, y to the 5th, z to the 14th. All of this elevated to the power of 0. And we said that anything elevated to the power of 0 is what? 1. So that's it. All of this automatically, just because all of this is elevated to the power of 0, everything is 1. Okay? That's it. That's for number 1. Number 2. Look at this exercise. We have a coefficient, the 2, and we have a power over here, 3. Remember what we said before. What if let me cover this with a little piece of paper. What if these variables were not there? What do you see? 2 to the power of 3, right? So 2 to the power of 3 is what? 2 times 2 times 2. That gives you what? 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So it's 8. Then, for the a to the power of 5. What did we do on the previous lesson? Power to a power. Power to a power, you have a to the power of 5 to the power of 3. What do you do with the exponents? Power to a power, you multiply the power. So the a, you're going to multiply 5 times, I'm going to put it right here, 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. This one, the letter B. The B is elevated to the power of 0. So what happens to the B? B to the power of 0 is 1. It's a 1. I'm going to put it with a highlighter right here. I don't know if you can see it. Anyways, I'm going to put it with all of this. The B becomes a 1. And 1 to the power of 3 is just 1. Okay? So we don't need to write it over here. Then we have the C. C to the power of 2. Power to a power, you multiply the power. So it's C. 2 times 3 is 6. And again, D over here, it's D to the power of 0. So all of this becomes what? A 1. Okay? So this is the answer right here. Okay. Now let's do these 3. All right? I have the first monomial here. Look what's happening here. Everything is elevated to the power of 0. So all of this, it's a 1, okay? All of it. All of this is a 1. Then we can continue with these 2. Let me... Okay. All right, so over here, I have coefficients here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this one by one. I'm going to simplify this one first and then this one first. Okay, so 3 elevated to the power of 2. What is 3 to the power of 2? 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, and then we have a to the cube to the power of 2. Power to a power, you multiply the power. So 3 times 2 is 6. B, the b to the power of 0, what happens? It's all of this is going to become a 1, and 1 to the power of 2 is 1. Okay, so this expression right here became this. Right? Now let's simplify this one over here. We have 2 to the power of 4. What is 2 to the power of 4? You just multiply 2 by itself 4 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 gives you 16. Or you can use the caret key right here if you have a calculator. 2 caret key to the power of 4 gives you 16. Alright, so 16. A to the power of 0, what happens with this guy right here? This guy becomes a 1. And then you have b to the power of 4, and it's like having b to the power of 1. And 1 times 4 is 4. So b to the power of 4. Okay? Of course, remember this one became what? A 1. If you have a 1 as a coefficient, anywhere in between, you can omit it. Alright? So now we're left with these two right here. So now let's multiply them. Alright? We have a multiplication right here. So look what happens with the two coefficients right here. I'm going to multiply them because what if the letters were not there? This is a multiplication. So 9 times 16 gives us 9 times 16 gives us 144. So you have 144. And then the a. Is there another a over here that you're multiplying by? No, there isn't. So just bring it down. So there's nothing to simplify the a with. Okay? There's no other a. If you don't have the same base, you cannot do the loss of exponents. The b. Is there another b over here? No. So just bring it down. B to the 4. And this is your answer right here. Okay? Alright. Look at this one right here. This one is going to be very easy because what do we have here? Look at these two expressions right here. All of this to the power of 0, all of this becomes a 1. And look at this to the power of 0, all of this becomes a 1. So what are you left with? You're only left with this. And that is your answer. So you see how anything elevated to the power of 0 makes life easier. And that is our answer. Okay? Alright. Now, on example number 5, here we have negative exponents. Okay, so what do we do here? We have a negative, we have this expression right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. We have this expression right here. Let me change the focus. Okay, we have this expression right here, all of it elevated to a power of -2. What did we say about a negative? We don't want it to be negative. So what happens with this guy right here? If we want it to be positive, what do we have to do? We're going to have to send this whole thing to the bottom. So that's what we're going to do. This thing, I'm going to move it to the bottom. And you're going to have 2x, y, all of it. Now the -2 becomes a +2. And this one is gone. So you're left with this. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to have to use the law of power to a power. We have x's, well, we have a coefficient right here, and then we have x's, and we have y's. Alright, so let's begin first with the part on the top. Okay, Let's begin with the part on the top. You have x to the power of 3 to the power of 5. Power to a power, you multiply the power. 3 times 5, 15. The y, power to a power, what do? 4 times 5, 20. You multiply it. Let's go over here. The term in the bottom. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. X to the power of 2 over here is like having 1 and 1. So 1 times 2, 2, and the y, 1 times 2, 2. Okay, so now we need to simplify this expression right here. There's no other number over here, no other coefficient, so the 4 just stays in the bottom. Okay, the 4 just stays in the bottom as a coefficient. Now, what happens with the x's? You're dividing. So here you're using the other laws of the exponents. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. So you're dividing the x's. So what do you do with the exponents? You subtract. So x is going to be x to the power of 15 minus 2, positive 13. If it's positive, it means, because over here it's like writing this, x to the power of 15 minus 2, and then the y, you have 20 minus 2, okay? And we end up having, what is 15 minus 2? 13, so it's x to the power of 13, and the y, 20 minus 2 is 18. But the 4 remains in the bottom. Okay, and that's it. This is your answer right here. Okay, all right, ready for number 6. Remember, you can always pause the video and go back. Look at this one over here. I see zeros. I see b to the power of 0 and a to the power of 0. I know that this is going to be a 1 and this one 2. And I see these exponents, so what do I do with this guy right here? I'm going to send it to the bottom. And this one is negative, but it's in the bottom. I'm going to send that one to the top. So this is what we end up having. All of this one. I'm going to get rid of the a to the power of 0 because we know it's a 1, so I'm just going to start this. b to the 6, c to the 8, all of it to the power of. Now it's no longer a negative, now it's positive 2. And this one over here, we know that we have a to the negative 5. We just moved this to the bottom, okay? So right now, we still have this negative exponent right here because we just grabbed it and move it down, all right? So it remains negative. We haven't done anything to this one. We just grabbed this term and moved it down. This is a 1 and then the c to the 3, but now everything is elevated to the power of positive 4. It used to be negative on the top, now it's positive in the bottom, okay? So let's begin simplifying over here. I'm going to simplify first the part on the top. So the b to the power of 6 to the power of 2. What do we do with the exponents? Multiply. 6 times 2 is 12. C, 8 times 2, 16. All right. Now let's go to the bottom. Over here we have the a. Power to a power, multiply the power. Negative 5 times 4 gives you negative 20. And then the c. 3 times 4, 12. Okay. All right. Everything seems to be normal, but we still have these two that are dividing, and then we have this negative right here. Now we can do something about the a. We don't want it to have a negative exponent. So what do we do with the a? We're going to send it to the top. So I'm going to send it to the top. Well, over here, and you have a to the power of 20. Now it's positive. This one is positive, so it remains where it is. And the c, when you divide, When you divide, what do? Subtract the exponent. So 16 minus 12 gives you what? 4. And that's it. This is your answer. Okay, so if you saw my announcement, our assignments end on Friday. This is your guided practice. You will have the independent practice about these exercises for Friday, all right? And then you wait for the instructions for finals, okay? So thank you. Bye.